It is sunset on the island of Maui. Molokai off in the distance on this Thursday night. We know that it is so cold throughout the United States. We hope you've been able to sit back and enjoy, like we have, some of the beautiful sights from Kapalua and Maui here on this Thursday. Now, watching the telecast, you may have noticed some of the greens were a bit discolored or spotty, if you will. Tournament officials actually notified the players before today's opening round about some issues with the greens. And for the latest on that, we say aloha to Todd Lewis.
Well, Ryan, let's explain what's going on. A few years ago, the original Bermuda grass on these greens here at the plantation course, that grass was ripped up and replaced with Tiff Eagle Bermuda. But recently, some of those original strains of grass from that original Bermuda started popping up and contaminating these Tiff Eagle greens and creating some thin spots around the green. The PGA Tour agronomy staff has been trying to tackle this issue along with the grounds crew here at the plantation course, and the PGA Tour made that issue aware with the players in the locker room, putting this sign up notifying all players about the fact that they do have some contamination of Bermuda grass and how it is reacting negatively to these current greens here at the plantation course. Today, after the first round, we talked to some players about how these greens are reacting.
They're in really bad shape, but what are you going to do? So everyone's putting on the same greens, and I'm not going to worry about it and just try and make them all.
I felt like majority of greens are really well. The one that struggles the most is going to be is 14. You know, I think you can't really do much where the pin locations are. I think you're going to see some pins on 15. There's a couple of pins that, you know, traditional pins that they may not be able to use, but, you know, they're rolling really good, and you hit good putts, they're going to go in the hole. So, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, they had a little disease issue, but I think the tour's done a really good job of managing them, and I think they've got a great game plan for the next couple of years of redoing some of the problem greens that they've had. And so, like I said, I mean, you know, it wasn't too bad. They're being really smart where they're putting the pin locations, trying to be safe and make sure the greens last the entire week.
Obviously, the greens aren't as good as what they usually are here. They're still rolling okay. They're a bit slower than normal and a little bit grainier than normal, but other than a couple greens that are maybe a little worse than the others, the ball's still rolling pretty good. Like I said, with them being a little thicker, a little grainier, you get some people, it might catch a spike or something, and it's going to bring up some more grass. Other than that, I mean, I made a few putts out there today. If you get the speed right and the line, like I said, they're still rolling pretty good, but everyone's having to deal with the same stuff.
So what is the PGA Tour doing to tackle these greens? Well, according to Slugger White, who's the Vice President of Rules and Competition for the PGA Tour, they're doing a couple of things. They're keeping the speeds low. Right now on the stemp, they're at around 9 to 9.5. Usually the average for the PGA Tour is between 11 and 12. And they're doing some other things as far as maintenance goes. They're doing something called backtrack mowing. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means they will mow the green, like, say, from south to north, and then come back and mow north to south. That will keep some speed up, but they are not rolling the greens at all. Now, you heard Patrick Cantlay say that the greens aren't great right now. However, he's kind of in the minority. The majority of the players that we talked to today on and off camera said, sure, these greens are not perfect, Ryan, but they are fairly true with their rolls. So most of the players here are not unsatisfied, or they're okay with the way the greens are rolling right now.
I appreciate that, Todd, and certainly Mark Rolfin. You know this terrain as well as anyone in the world. What'd you see out there?
Well, certainly the greens are not as good as we would hope they would be, and they're not as good as they have been in the past. But there's a couple of factors, and certainly the disease of the old Bermuda grass is the main problem. The other issue is that we had one of the rainiest Novembers ever here. It rained for almost a month straight, and this is a dormant season anyway. People look at the sun out and the weather in the upper 70s and think, well, the grass is growing like crazy. It's not. It's basically dormant. So there's been a combination of problems. But really, Ryan, it's more cosmetic than than anything. And if you look at the scores, they're still pretty good. The 14th green is the worst, and the reason it is that's the smallest green on the course. We've always had more problems at 14 than any other. So I think you will see some changes and some renovations, as Billy Horschel alluded to, over the next couple of years. And it's something that, frankly, can be done now with a long-term commitment from a title sponsor like Century. So that's more good news for having a new sponsor like Century involved.
I've always looked at it when you get to a place where the greens are problematic like they are here, it's almost like playing in windy conditions. You know, it does favor the best putters, the players who are hitting it the best. You know, I mean, a couple of things I know. You know, the PGA Championship in 1995 at Riviera, I believe it was 95, the greens were awful by any standards, and Steve Elkington had a ridiculously low number of putts that week. If you remember, he made that long putt on 18 to win in the playoff, and then, of course, at Chambers Bay, the greens were atrocious, and Jordan Spieth, by pretty much any measure, the best putter over the last few years, went away winner there with that great putt at the 16th hole. So inevitably, great putters do well anywhere.
Yeah, and it's always an interesting argument when the greens get a little shady. Does it help the good putter or does it hurt the good putter? And based according to you, it must help the good putter.
and certainly attitude going a long way to help in that reaction. Now, still to come here on Golf Central is we are live from Maui. So everyone's so excited what Tiger Woods was able to show at the Hero World Challenge. Well, now we know when Tiger will indeed make his return to the PGA Tour. That news straight ahead. Once again, a beautiful night here in Kapalua. The sun is just setting behind us as we get ready for a beautiful night and ready for the second round on Friday. We're back after this.